Hey there folks, Wrel here. Today we'll be looking specifically at the Smart Choke attachment to determine its benefits and detriments in gameplay. If you've never heard of the attachment, that's because as of making this video, it's only available to 4 weapons in the entire game. That's the new Conglomerate's Mag Scatter pistol and the 3 Directive reward shotguns, being the Brawler for the NC, the Havoc for the TR, and the Chaos for the VS. In short, the Smart Choke attachment tightens your pellet spread while aiming down sights, but it widens your pellet spread from the hip. The Mag Scatter is currently the only weapon that you can actively equip the attachment on, as the 3 Directive weapons have it built right in. A tighter pellet spread essentially equates to more precision, which technically means more effective range, as well as higher potential damage within that effective range. For us to understand how all of this lines up, there are some quick gameplay mechanics that we need to talk about. First is that, as we understand it, shotguns rely on both a cone of fire and a pellet spread value to determine where your damage goes. How this works is that you basically have an imaginary bullet fired somewhere within your cone of fire, and then the pellets have a spread around that point of origin. It's also worth noting that the reticule you see on your screen is not your cone of fire, and it's also not really your pellet spread. It's a weird combination between the two. Your reticule isn't your cone of fire because the Brawler's standing hipfire cone of fire is 1.5, and that's the same as the NS11C's standing hipfire. And as you can see it here, the NS11C's hipfire is much tighter than the would-be COF of the Brawler. At the same time, we know that the reticule is based in some part on your pellet spread, because by equipping the Mag Scatter with a Smart Choke, your hipfire reticule becomes the same size as your Brawler's, even though the attachment doesn't modify your hipfire cone of fire. Pellet spread is a static value. It doesn't increase or decrease based on your movement states, and unless you have the Smart Choke attachment, it doesn't decrease when you aim down sights either. But the reticule on the screen does increase and decrease if you're jumping or sprinting or aiming down sights. What I think should really happen is just to remove pellet spread from the equation entirely and base everything around your cone of fire. Obviously, you'd have to modify the cone of fire values of each weapon, but pellet spread is kind of an extra step that just isn't needed. It could possibly be in there due to technical limitations, but I'm not the one to say. Now that that's out of the way, what does the Smart Choke actually do for you? Based on some testing, your pellet spread seems to go up by 0.5 degrees while hip firing, and down by 0.5 degrees or possibly less while aiming down sights. And we can derive this answer 2 ways. The first is that the Mag Scatter has a pellet spread of 3 before it equips a Smart Choke, and because of that, its reticule is smaller than the Brawler's, which has a 3.5 pellet spread. But when you equip the Mag Scatter with a Smart Choke, both the Brawler and the Mag Scatter are the same size, so both at 3.5. Determining the reverse is a little bit more tricky, however, since the only weapons who operate on its 2.5 pellet spread also operate on a different damage model entirely, so we can't easily compare damage. But we can do a comparison between the size of the Baron's ADS reticule and the size of the Brawler's ADS reticule for a split second while it's visible and find that they are similar. The Jackhammer should technically be able to do this comparison as well, but the Jackhammer's reticule is actually smaller than it's supposed to be, given the pellet spread. So that's all the technical stuff you may or may not care about, but what it means for you in actual play is a bit more dependent on your situation than anything else. In regards to pellet spread, more shots landed on a target means more damage, and for all of your shots to land on a target, even when we take the cone of fire out of the equation, you technically need your reticule to completely cover your target's body. This is done most easily by aiming at the center of the chest, or toward the upper chest if you're closer to the target, and as an added benefit, you'll also have the chance to land headshots as well, which deal 1.5 times damage per pellet. Most shotguns follow a damage model of 6 pellets at 130 damage out to 8 meters and then dropping off to 50 damage at 18 meters. 8 meters to 18 meters is an extremely steep damage drop off, so no matter how you look at it, a slugless shotgun starts to require a lot more shots to drop a target the further you are away, and this is even before factoring in pellet spread. While aiming down sights against a non-nanoweave, non-heavy shielded target, and aiming at the upper chest so that the reticule also encompasses some of the head area and most of the chest, you're looking at mostly consistent 2-shot kills up to 9 meters with your auto shotguns, which have a pellet spread of 4, also 9 meters for your high capacity shotguns, which have a pellet spread of 3.5, 10 meters with your quick reload shotguns, which have a pellet spread of 3, and around 10 meters with your directive shotguns, which likely have a pellet spread of 2.5. So it's not a massive difference when you look at it like that, right? A couple of meters between them all, and those damage ranges take only a fraction of a second to move in and out of, so ultimately it does seem inconsequential. However, the hipfire 2-shot kill of each of these weapons is mostly consistent at 8 meters anyway. So during non-ideal situations, when you start missing pellets because of your aim, or when people start having more health because of nanowave armor, or heavy assault shields, or when you're fighting from outside your typical engagement range, if you're using a smart choke and aiming down sights, your potential for damage increases because more accuracy is good accuracy, and that'll allow you to go for headshots and avoid leg shots and missed shots. On top of that, a smaller pellet spread is a less reliable benefit from the hip because you're also beholden to a larger cone of fire. But while you aim down sights, that cone of fire is greatly reduced, which allows you to make better use of a tightened pellet spread. So to sum it all up, I believe that the benefits gained from equipping a smart choke do outweigh the negatives. It's not a massive improvement, and I think it's difficult to notice the benefits because of how steep the damage drop-off on shotguns is and how random your pellet spread is, but it is quite possibly more a benefit than less. If this video has been interesting, helpful, or entertaining, please feel free to like, subscribe, tell your friends about the channel, and if you have any more thoughts on the smart choke attachment, though I know you can't actually equip it on weapons aside from the mag scatter, you can leave those thoughts in the comment section down below. Thanks very much, folks. Wrel signing off.